Welcome back from the break, Rams, and we're back with another week of The Red Zone. I'm Ethan Bird.
And I'm Sydney Wicker. Now, yesterday, California passed an act called Fair Pay to Play, which essentially allows college athletes to get paid, and this could truly change college athletics everywhere.
And recently, Florida Gator Tim Tebow has been making headlines for his controversial opinion on the act. Take a look.
I knew going into college what it was all about. I knew going to Florida, my dream school, where I wanted to go, the passion for it. And if I could support my team, support my college, support my university, that's what it's all about. But now we're changing it from us, from we, from my university, from being an alumni where I care, which makes college football and college sports special, to then, okay, it's not about us, it's not about we, it's just about me. And yes, I know we live in a selfish culture where it's all about us, but we're just adding and piling onto that, where it changes what's special about college football. We turn it into the NFL, where who has the most money, that's where you go. That's why people are more passionate about college sports than they are about NFL. That's why the stadiums are bigger in college than they are in the NFL.
Some powerful words from Tim there, and you can truly see his passion. And after Tebow spoke out, he received a lot of backlash from other coaches, players, reporters, and more. And Jay Bilas is an example of that. He tweeted this: "All athletes should have the same economic rights as literally everyone else." Now that's real choice. What do you think, Sydney?
You know, hearing that tweet makes me think a little bit differently than Tebow's perspective of it. You know, a lot of backlash came from Tebow just because a lot of people are saying that he's privileged and he's earned this opportunity in his collegiate career, you know, and he's gotten a lot of respect for that. But on the contrary, when you look at these players, not all of them have had the same path and the same journey as Tim Tebow. Not all of them has been as fortunate. So you always have to consider that when it comes down to the breakdown.
And I agree with you. I mean, there's parts of me that I agree with Tim. You know, this is what college sports is about: is having pride in your team, having pride in yourself, having pride in your team. Excuse me, your teammates. And what concerns me the most about this act is, you know, we're vessels of greed, and that's part of the human condition. So what happens when money becomes more important than where you want to go to school and where you want to play? That's what scares me the most about this. I'm a supporter of this act. I mean, if your name is going to be used for profit, you should have a stake in that. You should have a stake in that, and that should be your right. But at the same time, how much are we going to let the money affect it?
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
I mean?
And one thing I really liked that Tim Tebow said was he said that his jerseys were competing against Kobe's. They were competing against LeBron's. His jerseys was one of the #1 top-selling jerseys while he was at Florida.
Yeah.
And he said he never wanted to make a penny off of that, which I give him a lot of respect for that. But you also have to consider that, like I said, his journey was a lot different than a lot of other players in college football and all that they've gone through. So I'm curious to see exactly how this act does evolve and all the opportunities that it comes with. But when you look at the NFL, that's an opportunity for players to get paid.
Oh, yeah.
That has always been the opportunity. But I understand why college players need to be making money now, because when you're a college athlete, you don't have time to get a job. You don't have time to do anything else.
It's a full-time job in itself.
That's it.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's where people kind of forget is that, I mean, these players, these kids who are on the teams, football is their life. Football is a 40-hour-a-week thing. I mean, football, basketball, volleyball, you name the sport. If you're a college athlete, that is your career, that is your profession, that is your job. And if you were working 40 hours a week, what would you want to be? What would you want to have done to you? You'd want to make some money out of it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And now Bleacher Report reporter Taylor Rooks also tweeted, and she said, "Not all student athletes have the luxury of not needing money." She also goes on to talk more about that privilege that we've seen from Tim Tebow and the other backlash that he's received. And I like the point that she makes, because she's right. Not all college athletes have this opportunity.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't just fall with football, like you said. It falls in volleyball, it falls in soccer, it falls in all these other sports as well.
Well, every player that enters into the NCAA, despite the sport, is going in with a dream. Despite what that dream is, and despite your background, not everybody comes from the same background, and I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, on the contrary to Tebow's comment, an exclusive video from HBO's The Shop mentions the California governor's take on this act.
They recognize they're vulnerable. people are hitting this, not just in California, but all across the country, because the gig's up. Billions and billions of dollars, $14+ billion goes to these universities, goes to these colleges, billion+ revenue to the NCAA themselves, and the actual product, the folks that are putting their lives on the line, putting everything on the line, are getting nothing. You can only imagine how they're responding to this notion of name, image, likeness, and the opportunity now to do what every other student in the university can legally do.
Now, I really like what he was saying there, but my question comes, if we do pass this act in other states and we see this evolve everywhere else, what does this do for other sports? We've only talked about football in these interviews. That's all we've talked about. But what about soccer? What about volleyball? We can't even pay the U.S. women's soccer team equally. What makes us think that we're going to be able to pay all these college athletes on the same level?
I think these people are getting so caught up in the exposure, because you look at virtually any college campus, what sport gets the most exposure? And that's football. You know, especially, I mean, look at CSU, for example. Our volleyball team is a dynasty. We have one of the best volleyball teams, in the nation. They've been consistently good, and look at the exposure they get compared to a 3-9 team football team last year and a 1-4 football team now. And I think that's where the difference is.
Absolutely. I'm curious to see how Title IX really does put an effect on this and other teams as well.
Now, speaking of college sports and people getting paid, let's talk Mike Bobo. And Twitter has been seeing some of the best of Mike Bobo's heat. So let's take a look. So here's that first tweet from CSU's Barstool account. You know, this is a nice little meme with the sign and the bunny. It says, "Fire Mike Bobo." And if the Barstool account is getting involved, you know things are bad. And now let's take a look at the second tweet that I brought up. I thought this one made me laugh. "Football has been tough. Fire John Elway. Fire Mike Bobo. Fire Jim Harbaugh. Fire me into the sun." I think that's what a lot of football fans feel like now, especially Broncos football fans, CSU football fans, and Michigan football fans.
Yeah, you didn't have to go there, Ethan, but thanks for doing it anyways. I understand where they're coming from, but I look at coaches like Harbaugh. Who's going to replace him at the University of Michigan? Who's going to do it? You can bring anyone into CSU, and they'll pretty much be better than Mike Bobo at this point.
That's probably pretty true. Now, students and fans have been complaining about Mike Bobo and how he needs to be fired, but what they do not see are the numbers, so let's break it down real quick with this graphic. See, this on the left side, you have his salary. Every year it goes up. That's a lot of money. He's the most paid, the highest paid athlete coach in the Mountain West, and it's by a lot. Next most paid is Boise State coach at $1.65 million. But here on the right side, you see the buyout, $5.5 million for this year, $3 million for next year, $2 million for 2 years from now. How much are you willing to pay to get Mike Bobo out? Are you going to keep biting a bullet, or are you going to keep listening to your people?
Absolutely, and we all know that CSU doesn't have the money after this new stadium that they just built, so it's going to take a lot for them to fire him at this point in the season. We're going to wait till January 1st when it drops $2 million, but still, we don't even know if they'll do it then.
No idea.
But now yesterday at the Monday press conference, Mike Bobo mentioned his coaching matchup with San Diego State's head coach, Rocky Long.
Well, I mean, I think the number one thing, you look at Coach Long and you look at his track record of always being very good on defense. You know, I'm not really scheme. I'm not going to sit here and talk about scheme. Just his players play so hard. They run to the ball, they strike, they're physical. You know, and that's what's impressive to me when I turn on the tape. Yeah, they've got good.
You know, Mike Bobo talks about being impressive when it comes to coaching, but you can easily get out coached. We've seen him get out coached multiple times this season, but I give him a little bit of credit. He wasn't expecting Colin Hill to go out for the rest of the season. That's definitely has affected the Rams in their season. But when you look at other universities like Florida, when they lost Felipe Franks, their starting quarterback, their backup quarterback's been doing great. He's come in, he's stepped up, and he's been prepared. Where's that readiness from CSU and their football team?
Well, for me, the biggest indicator for a weak coach, well, one of the biggest indicators for a weak coach and a weak coaching staff is an unprepared backup quarterback. Every quarterback should be in there taking reps with the ones. It doesn't matter, especially with Colin Hill, a guy who has already torn his ACL twice. There should have been a backup plan for that. That should have been something that was being prepared for. There should have been zero hiccups between Colin Hill dropping and Pat O'Brien stepping into the starter role.
I absolutely agree with you. It's just crazy to see this at the collegiate level, especially from someone like Mike Bobo. But moving on to volleyball, our watch list. The newly ranked number 16 CSU Rams are heading on the road to take on Wyoming right now and Air Force later this week. Ethan, looking at that Wyoming game, which player is going to stand out for CSU?
For me, I got to go with Jessica Jackson. Jessica is She's a very solid outside hitter for the Rams, 97 kills, 22 blocks, but she's hit 55% last week. And those are impressive numbers. I think she'll go on a run.
Absolutely, and now the junior from Wyoming, Jackie McBride, she's a middle blocker for the Cowgirls, but the last time the Rams faced McBride, she totaled 20 attacks, and she also had a 45 hitting percentage and 16 total points for her team. But this season, she has 127 kills and 236 total attacks.
And the Rams right now are playing Wyoming. They dropped the first set 25-20, but are up 23-15 in the second set. So we'll see how that one goes. Hopefully the Rams can keep it going.
Yeah, hopefully they can. They've only lost one game this season. But going into that game against Air Force that they have on Saturday, Kirstie Hilliard is a player that I see stepping up huge offensively and defensively for CSU. She had 16 kills versus UNLV and tallied 104 kills on the season with 59 blocks. Hilliard is coming off of a hot hand.
And on the other side at Air Force, you've got outside hitter Bailey Keith. Bailey Keith has been the most influential player on Air Force's team, 143 kills, 29 blocks, but the biggest indicator is 88 digs. If your outside hitter is digging that much, she's doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely, Ethan. It's going to be an interesting matchup against Air Force, but we'll have to see how these teams kind of play each other out. But finally, we're back with another week of Tell Me I'm Stupid. So, Ethan, it's your week. Let's hear it.
Okay, Sid. Okay, so tell me I'm stupid, but with a strong coaching staff, returning players, and huge recruits, I think that CSU basketball has a chance at making it to the tournament this year.
You know, Ethan, I'm not going to call you stupid here.
Okay.
Because there's always a chance. There's always a chance. But I don't know if this year will be the year for the Rams. I would love to see that happen. I think that'd be great for the program, and I think it's going to happen under Nico Medved. But I don't necessarily know if this is going to be the year. You're still getting rid of some of Larry Eustace's guys, so you still have some of that negative energy. But I think he's gotten rid of a lot of it, and you see from Nico Medved's perspective, he's turning this program around.
Oh yeah, Nico Medved, that's what he's done his whole career. We've got Nico Carvacho, best center in the nation. Don't at me. Don't even come at me. I'm not stupid for that. Nico's the best center in the nation. Well, Rams, that is all the time we have for you this week. But to stay updated on sports throughout the week, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at sports_CTV.